All right, here we go. We are up. This
All right.
is the Our Town podcast with Troy By, North Alabama's podcast. And we are rolling right along. Today is tax day, April
day.
15th. Did you do your taxes, Grace Counts?
I did my taxes early.
Did
Troy
you?
By. I was done like a month ago. Like, I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah, I'm pretty good of like early February.
Yeah. Do you have someone do your taxes?
No.
Okay.
TurboTax.
Yes, I was about to say I'm a TurboTax girl all the way.
We've been using TurboTax. My wife's Wendy's in the studio. Give a shout out to her. I want to say we're on like year 20.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering. I was like, when I get married, do I need to like use someone to do taxes?
Not necessarily.
I don't know, but
it's gotten so good.
Yeah.
It's so sophisticated.
I got a good refund this year. I was like, TurboTax has it right now.
Yeah, I would say like when you were born, I guess 2004. No, but it certainly I think hit the required marks in a way, like to not get yourself in trouble. But where it's gotten really, really good is just walking you through all these things for like exceptions.
Yeah.
Does this apply to you? Does that apply
For
to you?
sure.
And it's a little bit annoying if it doesn't apply to you. Because then you just kind of sit there, no, next.
Yeah.
None of the above. None of the above.
Yeah.
No. Just, I want to file.
This is a TurboTax plug.
Yeah.
Sponsor us.
It sure is. Or, heaven's sakes, we haven't yet had to deal with the whole like death tax or settling in a state and all that stuff.
Right.
It's hard enough for us to just do our living trust.
Yeah.
That's difficult. Anyway, Grace Counts is here.
Yes.
First, I have two questions for you. I'm going to
Okay.
ask them back to back. Don't answer the first one right away.
Okay.
So you are what is the correct pronunciation of your company?
Velox.
Velox. Okay.
Mhm.
How many times has it been mispronounced?
I would say like 1 and 2.
Just 1 and 2?
Oh, no. Like out of every 2 times.
Oh, it's okay.
The other one, yeah. Like, so 50% of the time.
How many
and that's okay.
How many variations of Velox have you heard?
Probably 5 or 6. Like the syllable people focus on, or what we've heard, like Velox is a really popular one.
Velox,
yeah. Velox. We actually thought about like going around a trade show or something and having people just pronounce our company name and just doing a video of like all the mispronunciations and just see like which one ranks the highest. But it's Velox.
I was going to go with like the French and say Velo.
Oh,
That'd
okay.
Be, I don't think the OX really works in French that way, but but if you really wanted to jazz it up.
I would believe you. If you said it confidently, I would believe that was French.
Yeah.
For sure.
Velox.
Yes.
Now, you are a graduate of Auburn, degree in public relations.
Yes, War Eagle.
War Eagle. I have some War Eagle gear that my buddy Wade Barnes sent to me.
Nice.
Shout out to him.
Love it.
I just need to lose a few pounds and I can squeeze into the shirts that he ordered for me. And now you did like an internship or at least spent some time in Atlanta before coming to Velox.
Yes, that was my first job out of college. I worked for a PR agency. It was like travel and tourism PR. So worked with hotels, a winery, cruise lines, because I really do have a heart for hospitality. I always thought it would be super cool to work in like the restaurant industry or in hotels. I just love like being able to serve directly in that way. And I also got to spend a lot of time traveling growing up, which is a huge blessing. Getting to see like so much of the world, and it's just awesome. Like some of the people that I would meet in those hotels and restaurants and tourism groups, those people like make the trip for you. Like they help you make the memories. And so, always thought it would be super cool to be in that industry, just to be a part of that. So I worked for this PR agency first year out of school, moved to Atlanta very briefly. Not a great job. Jumped at the offer when Velox made the offer for me here. And I definitely prefer marketing in-house over PR. And I also don't know if I see myself going back to an agency. It's a little bit chaotic. And I really like how with the in-house work, you get to know a brand well. Like you really get to represent, you get to dive deep into it. So yeah, very much more happy where I am now compared to the first job for sure. But
let me read this. This is just from your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's in the about section.
Oh gosh, I don't know the last time I updated that. Okay.
But it's good.
Okay.
I think it fits. And this is just to kind of further your bio.
Yeah.
It says, after my first job at a public relations agency and several marketing internships, I found a passion for building and promoting brands through digital media platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I thrive in collaborative environments where I can brainstorm ideas and learn from others while promoting a company that I believe in. With my copywriting, social media, and communication skills, I'm excited to expand my knowledge and drive my career forward. As marketing coordinator, and I think, by the way, you should put in for chief marketing officer eventually.
Yeah.
Just that's my suggestion.
Oh, yeah.
At Velox, I love developing strategies to show our audience why Velox is an ideal partner on any fiber or utility construction project.
Yeah. That whole propel my career forward, that was definitely a fresh out of college sentence for sure. But it is true. I really love getting to promote Velox because I genuinely believe in what we do. I believe in the people that make up our company, and it's just like a little family. Like, they're amazing people, and seeing the expertise that they have and knowing that like they really know what they're doing and will do a good job for our customers, it makes my job easy because I would have a really hard time marketing something if I didn't truly believe in it. But yeah, marketing has I've really enjoyed it. I feel like it's played a little bit more to my strengths. And when I was brought on right at 2 years ago now, we didn't really have any brand identity at all. Like, our website kind of looked like you would get, a virus if you were on it for too long, to be honest. Like, it was very, very basic, stock photos. Like, we didn't have any real identity for our company. So we worked with Sage a good bit when I first started. They kind of showed me the ropes of some things, and we're still partners now. They do a lot of our videography and photography and managing our digital ads, which is so helpful. Like, just takes so much off my plate. But they're amazing. We really came up with some cool, creative, like kind of bold things for our company that stand out in our industry a little bit. And it's just been awesome to see it grow. So we did a big, I rebuilt the website probably like a year or so ago, maybe a year and a half, because that was one of my first things when I came to Velox. I was like, we got to figure out something different than what we're doing. And as the brand evolved, we were kind of able to come up with like a look that's more cohesive, something really recognizable for us. And they helped us develop like a brand guide, and I've just kind of continued updating that. Like, okay, we like this look, we don't like this look. What really like represents our culture well. And then we just did a really big overhaul with Sage, and they are way better at building websites than I am. So, because I don't have any kind of computer background, I had to build a few for school as like part of a class. And I built a personal website forever ago, but they have like the real skills.
Yeah.
And so we did like a complete overhaul of our site recently, and it just makes me so happy because it completely pulls in like we look cohesive. Like we have a real brand feel now. And it's taken a couple years to get there, but it is something I'm super proud of. And it makes me so happy to see that we really do have a strong identity now.
So were they neglecting marketing Velox, or was it just the reality of you're trying to get a business going, thrive, you get buried in your even in your own success, right? It's hard to pay attention to things if you're just constantly, in a way, self-licking ice cream cone in a way, right? You're just constantly getting work and referrals, but at the same time, at some point, there's a downturn in the economy or whatever, business slows down, and it's like, we haven't been doing enough for marketing ourselves.
Right. So I think in the beginning there was a lot of word of mouth, and we still operate a lot off of referrals. But in the beginning, it was just a smaller company to where they didn't quite have the manpower for that. And I'm the only person in our marketing department. It's just me. And that's how it has always been. And so I think they just kind of hit a point where they were like, okay, we're getting to the point where we're big enough now, like we need a presence. And so they brought me in, super thankful they took a chance on me because I was still pretty green. But I've just really enjoyed it, and getting to grow with the company has been awesome. I think we're only at like 4 years right now. So 5 years. So it's a very young company. And so getting to see how they've grown and developed as well, and how that's kind of grown my career with it has been really, really cool. But they just needed someone to come in and take over that. And then I actually work with my dad. So he's awesome. He had a lot more like the business side of marketing, like just seeing how that operated in his previous companies. So being able to kind of collaborate with him a little bit and ask his advice on, how do we make sure that we're getting our name out there, and what channels should we use, and just getting his opinion on things, because he's such a wealth of knowledge from the business growth side of things.
Yeah.
That was super helpful. But I mean, in the beginning, we weren't even big enough to do trade shows, really. So once I came on, we started doing advertising, more of the creative stuff started to develop. We actually had a marketing strategy and a plan, and started doing trade shows. So we've definitely got a lot more of a system in place, which makes my job a lot easier now compared to when I first started. So
his name's Tom, right?
yes, Tom.
So I'm going to presume for you, right? I mean, on one, you brought it up. I was going to at some point bring up your dad, right?
Yeah.
But you know, there's going to be always those naysayers or those critical people like, well, it's nepotism, right? My son actually starts full time for the company I work for tomorrow. It's 10,000 people, and you know, I don't think a lot of people yet know. Not that it's a big deal, but you know, sometimes there's like, oh, it's nepotism.
Yeah,
right? Grace only got the job, but so I would imagine that probably fuels you a little bit more to show people like, hey, they could have hired. I could have not been related to Tom
for sure, and
I just want to be looked at as someone who is the right choice for this company right now. Is that something that fuels you?
In a way, I think a lot of it is, I think really, really highly of my dad. He is super, I mean, he's brilliant. I mean, he is so smart, and he sees things in a way that not many people do. Like, he can connect the dots and see where something is headed, any potential issues. He's a big picture thinker. And it feels like I'm the oldest daughter, so it feels like kind of big shoes to fill, especially going into the same industry as him. So if anything, it's like I want to absorb as much knowledge as I can from not just him, but all of our leadership, and kind of try to perform as much as I can at his same level. So yeah, there's definitely a little bit of, you know, I have to work extra hard because I have a family member I care a lot about watching me do this. But you know, we really found a good way to like have boundaries a little bit, where it's like, okay, like when we're at work, I call him Tom. Like, he's not dad, he's Tom. And I think there's a little bit of a struggle in the beginning, kind of learning like, okay, how do we handle this now that we're in the same work environment? But I don't work for him, which is a good thing. We've both agreed that it would probably not go well because we're super similar people. So I work for somebody else, and, you know, I report to them. They ultimately are the one giving like approval or denying, you know, whatever. So it has been really interesting to work with him. But ultimately, I'm very, very confident that even though he is my dad, he would have pushed for me to be fired if I didn't do a good job. Yeah. And that is like 100%. You could ask him that right now, and he would say the same thing. Like, I guess you could say I did get the job through connections, but I also think that's how a lot of people get their jobs. Sure. It might not be your dad, but I know a lot of people. I got my first job because I've had a friend who went to that company a year before I did, and she recommended me, and I got the job there. So
that's the way it works.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Now, you're going to get married. Are you going to take his name?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that might solve a little bit.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. Yeah, so we get married in October, which is super exciting.
What will your last name be?
Cooper.
Okay. Grace Cooper.
Grace Cooper.
There you go.
Yes.
So then you won't have any naysayers anymore. They'll have to do their own digging or homework to figure it out.
Yep.
And it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, I agree.
But unfortunately, sometimes it does.
Yeah, I get it. I understand how it can look, but also I'm a marketing coordinator in Huntsville. Yeah. I'm not like I'm not in a political seat or something. So I'm like, surely it's not like I'm just, you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not really impacting anybody else's life by being where I am. So I don't know. I guess I haven't thought about it too much, but sometimes you do get kind of a weird look, like if you're at a trade show or you're networking and someone's like, "Oh, you're their daughter." I'm like, "Yeah, but I promise you, like I work hard to be here." So you know, I don't think it really bothers me too bad because I'm confident in my abilities, and I think I have the evidence to show for the work I've put into the company. For sure.
We should give a shout out before we go too much further to Michael Jones at Red Sage.
Yes.
He has actually connected me to other guests, and now he's connected me to you.
Yeah.
So we
thank you, Michael.
And how long have you've been working with Red Sage how long?
So I actually interned with them in college.
Oh, okay.
Which was awesome. I am so grateful for that. They really are the reason that I knew I wanted to go into marketing. I switched my major to PR, I think my sophomore year of college, and didn't really know that much about what day-to-day marketing looked like. But once I interned with them and I saw how it kind of played to my strengths, and getting to work with clients at the agency was super cool, and just seeing how relational of a job it is, I really fell in love with it, and I'm so grateful for that internship. But it's also great because I've seen how their office works on the inside. So I know, like, I can trust their leadership. I've seen them grow. I'm getting to work with some of the people that I've known for years because I worked with them at one time.
Yeah.
So I've known them for a while, but we started working with them at Velox 2 years ago when I came on board.
Yeah. I can't believe it's been, I think I had Ellen on like episode 73, and you from Decatur, and she's from Decatur.
Yeah.
And
Ellen's awesome.
One of the coolest experiences that I've heard when it comes to marketing companies was them saving the city of Decatur from a marketing mess.
Oh my gosh,
where they hired that company out of Birmingham to kind of to rebrand their city.
Yeah.
And then ultimately they came in and called it Positively. Right.
Yeah.
And so if you go to the Decatur website, it's Positively Outdoors, Positively Nature, right? Positively Decatur.
Yes.
And she came up with that.
Yeah. They really did an incredible job. And I got to help with some of their stuff for economic development with Decatur and a couple other places around Alabama. But Ellen is amazing. And when I was, a sophomore in college, I really was inspired by her because just seeing how great of a leader she is and how knowledgeable she is. It was just really, really cool to see as a young woman, like somebody like really taking charge in their career and with their business and the way she has grown it. It's just been incredible to watch. So I really do love them. They're a wonderful team and they've served us well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that Velox has only been around 4 years.
Yeah. I think we have year 5 coming up this year.
And you recently, there's a press release or Inc. magazine listed you all number 36.
Yes.
Out of 5,000.
Yeah, we were pumped for that. So it was a really big deal. It was the Inc. magazine Southeast, like the regionals. So they looked at company growth and we ranked number 36. And I did look, and I believe out of telecom, we were the number 1 company in telecom. So that was really, really exciting. Felt good to see our team get recognized for that because they've worked really hard for that.
Yeah, there were 2 other companies in Alabama ranked above you, but they were in construction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think your percentage growth was like 491%.
Yeah,
something
it was
like
pretty
that.
crazy.
So talking now about the services that Velox. Let's bring up the website.
Yeah, let's do it.
My wife was making sure that we did that, and this will kind of tie together a few things. One, the work that Red Sage has done. Right, you have this nice video.
Yes.
Actually, let me say this before we go too much further. There you are, and I just saw you on the website. It's when I do research on a guest, right? I talked to you on the phone at some point a couple months ago. I think I forgot everything we talked about.
It's okay.
Whatever, it happens. I remember certain things, and then I have guests, answer questions. But it's always fun to like say, okay, she's working for this company and she's been there for 2 years. You start looking into it, and I can tell immediately the impact that you've had on Velox just in your 2 years. Kind of what, the company's only 4 years old, but you're not going to see much from the marketing standpoint, the social media standpoint. You were touching on that, and now even if it's Red Sage, you're the engine that's pushing that, right?
Yeah,
those relationships to where now you're like, wow, this is actually a really good website.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's not, and websites are getting more and more complicated because
for sure
they're tied into so many other things that feed them, right?
Right.
It used to be a lot simpler.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Red Sage is great because being the only person at Velox doing our marketing, I can have like a vision in my head, but I don't have the computer skills to build it, or I might not have the programs to put together like a physical ad or something like that. So having that kind of like outsourcing, it's so helpful. And this is pretty much exactly what was in my brain when I started. We put together like a brainstorming session. I told them I wanted to just do like an overhaul of the website. We were going to rebuild it just in a different platform because we'd had a lot of IT type issues with it, and it would crash and mess up our emails, and it was a big mess. So I kind of told them, like, let's just rebuild it and you guys host it so it's reliable. Started looking at it and I was like, this really doesn't reflect who we are anymore. And I started being like, hey, let's tweak this, let's change that, until I was like, we just need to do a complete overhaul. And so this is pretty much exactly what was in my mind when I was telling them how I wanted the site to look. We pulled up a lot of our old content, like some of the social media ads we've run, some of the print materials we've put together, all sorts of stuff. And this is pretty much just a big, like, everything brought together. And I think it represents who we are really well. So I'm really happy with it.
Let's do this. I'm gonna click on what we do to learn more, and because it seems like those 3 tabs are very crucial here, right? Any commentary you want to provide on this services page?
Yeah. So we are moving more into engineering now, which is super, super exciting. That's something that we've been able to do, but we're really developing that now, and kind of jumping full into that. But construction, definitely a bread and butter thing for us. We've done aerial and underground.
And it's just fiber optic cable.
Yes.
Okay.
And, we've done that everywhere from Alabama, Tennessee, to we had projects in Colorado and Texas. So it's really cool to see how the different markets have grown. There's a lot going on in our industry right now, especially with, BEAD money rolling out, and everybody wants fiber right now, which is great for us. But it's definitely, we've had to kind of realign some of our strategies and think about like where the industry is headed and where we want to position ourselves in that. And that sometimes it changes like month to month, it seems like, but it's pretty fun because really, I wouldn't have imagined myself in the industry I'm in now. I don't think I even knew what telecom was, but I really have loved it. And that, always changing kind of fast pace really keeps me engaged with my job, and I need that. So yeah, this is just kind of a quick rundown of everything that we offer. And we just wanted to make everything accessible for any potential customers or someone just checking us out. Like, we want to make sure that they're able to see who we are and what we do quick, and they don't have to, waste any time. They're not scrolling around our website trying to figure out, we just want it to be easy for them to see. And so, we have this section here, and I'm trying to remember.
Let's do this. Let's define BEAD money as broadband equity access and deployment money.
Yes.
So this is federal money.
A lot of grants for communities to build out broadband for people
in underserved areas, or
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rural areas.
The goal is to close the digital divide, is what they say.
Right.
So anyone that doesn't have access now, because it really is a need. It's not just a want anymore. We're capable of handling these big projects. We want to go after like those tier 1 providers, the big companies, and be their prime contractor. We want them to know that they can rely on us start to finish. We can handle it all. And our guys really do have, especially our leadership, oh my gosh, like they've worked their way up from being linemen to where they are now. And so they really do understand the needs of each individual project. They're really good at seeing it from all sides. And then, of course, there are the municipalities as well. We've gone to several shows to network with different co-ops and rural groups. There's a lot of different options. We're kind of trying to figure out who we want to target a little bit more. And as the industry changes, sometimes we might head a certain direction and then be like, ooh, maybe this one isn't as good of a fit for us as a different sector. But we're pretty much open to, any partnership if it makes sense. We want to be able to provide that to people, whoever or wherever they are, as long as we're able to.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it started out likely just somebody hired Velox. They come in, maybe not as much the engineering. Somebody already did the engineering. Hey, you just need to put the fiber in the ground and do whatever. We
started out in, I believe it was Tennessee. And, I wasn't here during this time, but I believe it was in Tennessee. And it was a really tough project because there's so much rock up there. And I didn't know this. It's actually really cool. So the drills I mean, there's just so many little niche things in the industry that was like, I never would have thought about that. Who knew? But my boss was telling me one day, he said that the drills actually have like a solution in them that sprays on the rock, and a really good driller, and I might be butchering this. This is not my area of expertise, but this is, I'm pretty sure this is accurate. So a really good driller will know, like, if it's this kind of rock, I need this kind of solution and these mixtures to better dissolve it and drill through. So there was a lot of rock on that project. And obviously, you know, if you're having to look at what kind of rock it is and what kind of equipment you have and all the little details like that, it's a tough project. Drilling through rock is not an easy thing. And so they did a lot of rock up in Tennessee. And I think that was kind of the thing that started it all. So after that, you know, they started moving into different parts of Tennessee, Alabama. We have some projects in Arkansas, South Carolina. So Southeast is really where we focus, just because it takes so many resources to do that kind of construction.
Yeah.
Moving a fleet out there, getting all the people out there is a lot. So we kind of have our little, you know, central points and like a radius from there that we try to target. But yeah, like I said earlier, we have been kind of nationwide at this point and hope to continue doing that as we grow.
So then you just have to hire crews out and whatever, or they subcontract to you, I guess, right?
Yeah,
you
so we do have some subs. Our goal, of course, is to have as many in-house people as possible.
Sure.
But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
But like if you get a job in Oregon,
yeah,
who goes? Do you send your people out?
So we have some that usually do move around. I think it kind of depends on the project, but there have been times where we've kind of had to hire local and like figure out, okay, how are we going to reach these people and move people here. But some of our guys have moved around. I believe we had some guys that were out in Texas with us for a while, and they came all the way up to, I think, Arkansas, but they were in like far, like South Texas. What's that city? Like
Galveston?
McAllen area.
Oh, McAllen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they were out there and then went all the way up to Arkansas with us. So some of our guys, you know, it's awesome to see that they stick with us like that.
Yeah. You know, actually, you contributed on this article. We should look at this because I think what you were touching on. So it's April Fools don't get caught in the deception of a cut rate contractor.
Yes.
Right. And then
I worked with our president, Jimmy Hall, on this.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And right away you read through this and it basically is, hey, if you want to hire a contractor, you know, it's not just always the low cost.
Right.
And you just mentioned something. Number one is experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know a little bit about like a wet saw that you might use in construction, but when you start to talk about basically wet drilling, well, it's not just water. It could be saline. It could be who knows, right?
Yeah.
If you lack the experience, because one thing that you guys seem to pride yourselves on is, or not pride yourselves on, but it's one thing to be hired to do a job. It's the next to be hired to fix someone else's mess.
Yes.
And that's where I think experience overall plays in.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah. We've had to talk about that recently a good bit. Unfortunately, you know, we see with bead money rolling out, there's a lot of people who like want to jump in, and nothing wrong with that. Like, I totally get that completely. There's a lot of opportunity, great room for growth. But the danger in that is if you're a customer and you just go with the person who has the lowest price, that might be because they don't have the resources or they don't have the manpower, or they're not as developed in that or as experienced. And there are some things about fiber specifically that are different from other utilities. You know, it's not easy to just jump into that and, you know, just start and see how it goes.
Yeah.
So there have been some times where we've had to come in and fix what somebody else broke because they went with the customer chose whoever had the lowest price. And really our point with the article isn't that the lowest price is always the worst. It's more the value for the service that you're getting. So if you have a really big project that's going to be really complicated, has a lot of different nuances that someone really needs to like fully grasp and understand and figure out how to make those things a reality versus just on paper. You know, you need to consider like what the service is that you're wanting. And if the price is lower, that's great, but like be careful going with that lowest price because you are asking somebody to do something that should cost a little more if it's a job well done. So it was interesting hearing his input on that because he's seen that not just from the company he's in now, but with a previous company where he was more on the like the procurement side. So he wasn't doing the construction, but he was helping customers with that. So Jimmy has seen it from all angles.
Does Jimmy is it more satisfying to kind of over deliver to that new customer, or is there more satisfaction in pleasing that customer who's just been let down and lost money by going with the wrong contractor, and then you come in and, you know, kind of save the day? Has he ever commented, or what's your thoughts on that?
He hasn't said. If I had to guess, I would say I want to lean new customer. Not that the team wouldn't love getting to fix it, but it's that can cause so many more problems, and it's really disheartening when you see a customer lose time, lose resources, lose money. Because it just makes everything so much more complicated. So it's really not fun when the team has to go in and fix these things, and like the customer is already stressed, and you know there's a lot going on, and it stresses out management on every team. So I don't know. I'll have to ask him that.
Yeah, do that.
I'm sure he'd be satisfied with both, of course, but I'm sure he would probably pick that new customer, because I feel like the overall happiness level is probably going to be a little bit higher with them, because they didn't have to go through the chaos of fixing things. Because sometimes, especially if it's like a government funded thing or a municipality, those, you know, the budget and the timeline really, really, really cannot budge. And so it's really stressful for a customer if they get behind like that because of somebody else's mistakes. And then best case scenario, because they chose the really cheap contractor, they break even. So, you know, it just saves everyone a lot of time and stress to go with somebody who does have the experience and the knowledge and can practically make a network come to fruition.
Yeah. So if you could talk about how the vision, I guess you've helped the company to kind of get this vision of branding and doing more to put yourselves out there. Some of that's just in those little vignettes or features and spotlights that you're doing on employees. If you like go to your Facebook page, right? Has that gotten them more excited about Velox? And do they come to you with now their own ideas of, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you did this or that, or could you please post this?
Yeah, especially like some of our guys in the upper level, like management positions out in the field. It's really cool because they'll send me pictures and like, hey, you know, our guys are doing this today if you want to share this. So it always makes me happy because I'm also over like the apparel and some of the stuff in the field. So I really do want to take care of our guys in the field because they're the ones that are the reason we're successful. If we're successful, like it's them, like doing the physical work. And so we always want to make sure that they're really well taken care of. And I'm in charge of all the swag, like the hats and the shirts and everything. So it's been cool getting to build relationships with them a little bit as well. They love some of them love when we have a photo shoot. And it's really cool.
Like this right here.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
was one of your photo shoots, right?
Yeah. So, it's really cool when I see them get excited to, you know, do the interviews and get to do the photos and represent the company. It's just something fun. I mean, who doesn't love that? Like and then you don't have to be working. Like you get a little bit of time off to do something fun and you're still getting paid.
Here's some of I'm just scrolling. This is just from your Facebook page.
Yeah.
And I think these are all things that Red Sage did for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There are a couple things on there. I only have like one Adobe program, but I've gotten to where if it's like a photo, I can kind of make some of my own stuff. I don't have the creative brain to make something like that, but I can make photos that match the branding. So some of that stuff on there, like the photos is mine, but you know, they put together some templates for us. This was from one of our guys in the field. I think that was in South Carolina. So I think that's Brandon and Chase. But yeah, we have some really great guys working with us, and it's always fun when we're able to take a break with them from field stuff and they get to just do like a fun little photo shoot. And, it's always nice to get to know them a little bit better too. So.
On your website, let's go back to that media room. So that's something where, you've posted, I believe the same thing I came across through my own searching. Boom, it's on your website. But, what is How often are you going to update that? Like, what's your rule that you're giving yourself for making sure there's some links here?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I'll tell on myself a little. If you look at the dates, there's a very clear gap where I did not update for a little while. So I kind of learned last year as I built my first marketing plan end of 2022 and was following it last year. Really, it was just kind of overwhelming because everything was still coming together. Like planning the trade shows, the apparel, the PR aspect, the ads, like all so social media, like so many different things. And there are some days where I would come in and know, okay, this is my to-do list, and I wouldn't even get to it because people would come in the office or need this or need that, or more urgent things that would have to be taken care of. So I kind of had to readjust last year. And as I was looking back at my marketing plan, I was like, I really need to regularly check in on this because it's like, oh, I totally forgot I was supposed to pitch this or I was supposed to come up with that angle. So now this year, I've done a much better job with that, thankfully. I check in with my marketing plan like probably weekly, if not more than that. But yeah, my goal is have something new on there like every quarter at least.
Okay.
If we could do like every month or every other month, that would be great. It just kind of depends on the season that we're in. Especially with trade show season or right before trade show season when I'm doing all the coordinating and the logistics, my days are slammed. And so being the only one doing the marketing piece, it is kind of tough to find time to write content or like come up with new angles and do different pitches and that sort of thing. But I'm proud to say we've already got, 4 or 5 things secured and lined up this year, and it's just April. And then we've got some internal things that we're putting together as well. So
yeah,
I'm excited. That should be a lot more regularly updated this year.
Well, and it's not necessarily a knock because there's a time and place for that.
Sure.
And then social media is going to take over for other things, right? And they don't need to be duplicative of each other.
Right.
Where maybe in the past you were relying much more on your website because social media was in its infancy and wasn't around, right?
Sure. Well, the other thing too is a lot of those on the media room are press releases. But I really don't like writing a press release if it's not something really timely and not something that's more attention grabbing. I don't want to just write a release to write one. And so really whenever we have a big step in our company as a whole, that's when it's like, okay, press release time, like the Ink Award or that sort of thing. Same thing when we opened our splicing division in-house. So what I'm hoping is that some of the internal things we're working on, like different case studies or white papers, that will kind of supplement when we don't have a press release, but we still want to keep our content fresh without just overdoing it, trying to make a headline when there's not anything crazy to report.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool to see like all those different pieces play together. And I'm a planner. I love planning and organizing, so it makes me really happy when I see all of that come together in my marketing plan, and it actually like is real now. Like different pieces are starting to all come together. So it's just another step, really, like getting the internal stuff organized and kind of publishing our own things now. It's one more step toward where I see us going and what I want us to be.
Is Tom hard on you?
Yeah.
do you sometimes look for that kind of affirmation? Like,
oh yeah,
you're probably one of those great examples of I just need a thank you or an atta girl. That's all I'm asking, and you don't get it.
I will say, Tom isn't mean to me, and when I say hard on me, I think he just expects me to deliver, but also he's in the CEO role, so that's kind of his job. He's not mean, he's never discouraging, and he is really good about saying like, hey, you did a great job with this, or just anytime anyone in our management recognizes that. Because I think in the beginning, there wasn't as much of an understanding of the importance of marketing and how it plays into the business and, the importance of it. And I think over the last year, there's been a lot of growth and really good communication over that. And that's something that I just appreciate so much because it's not that they didn't care about the work. It's that there just wasn't an understanding of this is why we have to do these things. And it was really, really helpful for me when we kind of realigned on that and they started to understand and see the impact And I think a big thing was when we would be at trade shows and people would come up and say, oh, I've seen your ads. Or like, oh, I saw you guys on social media.
Oh, cool.
I want someone at our company to do what you guys are doing. Like, oh my gosh, that was a huge deal when people said that. Like, I freaked out. I was like, it's working. My job is working. So that was really cool. But yeah, to answer your question, I think that I don't know if hard on me is the right word, but I think he's always expected me to do my best and, deliver. And I think part of that is because he believes that I'm capable. He probably wouldn't do that if he didn't think I could.
Sure.
And he does do a good job. Like if something exceptional happens or if I'm really on top of my game, he does recognize that, which I appreciate a lot. But yeah, there's definitely that element of, this is my dad. Like, and no matter if I call him Tom or not, he's still my dad.
Yeah.
So of course, being the amazing businessman that he is, it's big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you go to all the trade shows?
I do.
And right
Pretty
now
much every single one.
You're kind of in trade show season now, correct?
Yeah, we are. So we've had 2 so far. Tom and our vice president of operations, Danny, they're at a smaller show in Arkansas right now. And then we have 2 in May, 1 in July, 1 in August.
Okay.
So, yeah, we got a lot this year.
Do you enjoy it?
I do. I really love, I said earlier, I love travel. So any chance to see something different, it doesn't have to be Paris. Like I'm happy just going to like a random tiny town in Texas, like which we've done before, just because it's something different. And I also love food. So anytime I get to try food that's different, I'm like, let's go. Like, and company pays for it. No question, I'm there.
So I saw a picture somewhere. I'm not sure where I saw it, but you're out. I think you were visiting employees in another state.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say it was Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And you had your Carhartts on and boots on. And,
yes.
And I'm
in South Carolina. It was the quarterly meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, it was so fun.
I'm kind of assuming you may be one of the only females there. And you're, is it fun to get in those work clothes and kind of hang with the guys?
It is. So I grew up horseback riding. I had my own horses, spent a lot of time outside as a kid, did a lot of yard work as a kid, picking up sticks and mowing the yard and scooping horse poop on the weekends. So the outdoorsy, like physical work aspect of it isn't completely foreign to me. Definitely not on the level that they do. They work their tails off all day, every day out there. But yeah, it's kind of fun just to be not in an office environment.
Yeah.
It's definitely different. And that was something that I was nervous about, being in such a male dominated field. Cause I think all of the women that we have, we do have some women working in the field now, actually. And that was something super exciting. It's like, oh, this is so cool. Like we want to be able to recruit women too. It's not, and even one of our management, like our leadership was talking to me about that. And he was like, we got to figure out a way to make sure that women know they can work here too. And there's a lot of women, like more women than you would think in the construction field. But of course, most of the time when you're at trade shows and stuff, it is all male dominated. So most of the women that we have are in the office. So when I'm out there, it is very different. But I'm really thankful because I haven't experienced any mistreatment. They respect me. Even if they don't necessarily understand the job I do sometimes, there hasn't been any kind of disrespect. They haven't made me uncomfortable. I really do love everyone that I've met through our company.
They probably just enjoy having you around to talk to someone other than the normal guys.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I hope that they associate me with fun events because it's like, okay, we're doing a quarterly meeting where we get free food and like get to hang out with everybody, or like we're doing a photo shoot, we get to wear cool outfits and take pictures and like get a little bit of a break during the day. So that's my goal. Or they're like, oh, Grace is here. Maybe she's bringing us T-shirts, like a positive association. So,
it doesn't take much to like please employees.
Yeah.
And, they might enjoy a hat and a shirt periodically than just a, even like a bonus.
Right. And you talked
about
about
that's easy
that
to do
on the Redstone podcast.
I did
my
not.
homework.
Thank you. I've mentioned that
but
before.
It's so true. It's true. Like, and I love that you mentioned that too. I think you had said something as much as like a gift card for the family to go eat. Like that could mean more to an employee than something more formal in like the business setting. And I really, that's what was so great about our quarterly meeting. And we want to keep doing that is it's a time to slow down, have real like kind of fellowship time, like community time, and like share a meal together and not be under the pressure of work, but just get to hang out like more as friends, so
in particular, I don't know if I mentioned this point as well with that episode, but you'll get certain people, and some of it's just the point in their life, but you might get an older guy that's like, he just wants a good Christmas party.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily even more about salary anymore, different things. It's just, what can I see in the company that they care about me as a person?
Right.
And
For
it's
sure.
like, that's easy as a manager. Like, oh yeah, we can have a party. We can celebrate all the holidays, or just doing a lunch every now and then. And it's the simplest thing, yet has the most like impact.
Yeah, exactly. And I really do, like, that's something else that being in the marketing role, I handle a lot of our events, like our Christmas parties and that sort of thing. And since I'm a very relationship oriented person, it's really cool being in the role that I'm in, because I'm like, I want to make this something fun. Like, I want to make it about building those relationships and making it something meaningful, creating like a real culture versus just something that feels super strict and corporate. Like, we want it to be something people look forward to. We're like, oh yeah, we have the Christmas party this year. Not like, oh, this is annoying, we have to go to this on a Saturday.
There's a few episodes that I thought about in preparing to have you on, and doing some research on Velox, right?
Yeah.
And what you all do. And I think back to, this is the North Alabama podcast, right? And this is hopefully one big story that people tune into, and you're going to get different pieces and parts. And part of that is, even though it's in Mississippi, that's a great example of, I mean, the town is immediately transformed. And that's what this BEAD money is all about.
Yeah.
Is to provide something that is now critical infrastructure. Like, Americans need this. Kids, the school systems are relying on the children having some sort of, even if the school system is providing it, like a device, well, then you have to have some connectivity.
Right. Which we learned during COVID.
And then, I've had guests like John Kavach on, who was a professor of Southern history, or in talking with Jared Mitchum from TVA, and the history of the South. The South was by far forgotten about, if you will, when it came to infrastructure in this country. Last to get electricity.
Right.
I don't have the data in front of me, but I'm sure there's some town somewhere in the South that it would shock us if you heard the year that they finally got electricity.
Yeah.
You would probably be like, are you kidding me?
100%.
Or if there's still places that don't even have indoor plumbing.
Right.
There probably are.
Right.
Anyway, these are like, it's fiber. It's everyone's consuming high speed, and so I think, and it's economic development, right? There's just so much impact to like what you all do as a company. Like, her parents probably have it in like rural Illinois with 600 people in the village, and because it's a BEAD money thing, and like, hello,
it's crazy.
I could use this. I have a podcast.
I know.
I'd like to have better bandwidth.
Yeah, it was pretty wild though. The first time I ever saw it in person, I was like, "You mean to tell like that? That's what's serving everybody? Are you kidding me?" And seeing them like peel back the different layers, there's a lot of protective stuff around it, but it's just nuts because the actual fiber itself is so delicate and tiny. Yeah.
But ultimately, if you own dark fiber, like, which means like you own the whole thing. Yeah. You can sell that and sell that and sell that. Yes. Like you're saying, down to the hair level, right? I mean, that is
like the individual.
That would have been an investment willing to make.
Right.
And there's only like 2 or 3 companies that own all the fiber or all the, the trunk lines that go across the ocean and all this kind of stuff, right? It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It has developed so much. Because Tom has been in it for so long. Yeah. And his company before, he was doing software. So he's really seen that grow. It exploded. Yeah. Like, people were kind of nervous about it almost, and then it just exploded out of nowhere. But it is, again, because it's got that durability. Like, it will just, and if it's a well-built network, it will serve for years. And that's the goal. Like, that's what we want to do. We want to build something that we don't have to revisit.
Let's go. At the beginning, you were talking about traveling and enjoying, like, what I think I heard was enjoying as you observe the customer service experience at a hotel, or a resort, or a restaurant. Where I was the type of person that I analyze like TV broadcasts or like sports broadcasting, and I'm watching a game, but I'm also like I'm very interested in just the production of things. I take it that perhaps your passion for you want maybe hospitality management and stuff came
Yeah.
from actually appreciating those people that kind of orchestrate together this coordinated effort to make sure that you have a good time.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Is there anything that really stands out from
You know, I remember, I think I was like 8 years old. I was little. We had gone to Biltmore in North Carolina, and we went to this one restaurant, and it wasn't even like a fancy restaurant. It was, like upper middle, like kind of like a really nice Ruby Tuesdays, like, nothing crazy. And I just remember the waiter took so much time to really slow down and like talk with me and my family. And just, as a kid, he's kind of messing with me, and he snuck me like an extra plate of fries to take home because I just kept saying how amazing the fries were. Like, I remember them still. They were incredible. I wish I remembered the name of the place because
Have you
they
been
were
to it?
awesome. Oh my gosh. So I just remember when I was a kid, that was so impactful to me. And I just left the restaurant like grinning ear to ear because it just makes you feel like seen.
Yeah.
And I think that human connection is so powerful. And that's kind of what I love about the role I'm in now, is that that's still a driving force for me, is the power of human connection and relationship building. So I mean, seeing that time and time again, if we were on a cruise line and, someone would take the time to like sit and get to know us. Or I remember, on cruise lines, they kind of have the cast people like come around and like they're always on entertainment mode. I don't know how they do it. I would be so drained. But I remember there was like a dance party on the deck one night, and one of the people who was like dressed all crazy, he like came over and pulled my family in and like had us dance with him. And it just like, you don't realize how important those things are until you look back and you're like, man, like that's a really special memory that wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for this person taking the time to like facilitate that.
Yeah.
And that just, it's something that's like more valuable than anything tangible.
Yeah.
Like it just means so much to you. And I love that. I think it's so cool.
We took a family cruise, Christmas of 2016. And it's interesting because, look, the cruise line. Look, I was born in the United States, and the great thing about cruise lines and stuff is they will employ people from all kinds of different countries and give them a chance to work.
Yes.
Right, and they work really hard. Almost too hard on a cruise ship. It's almost like, when do you ever like take a break?
I did look into it, and then I saw the living quarters, and I was like, never mind.
Yeah.
Not for me.
Yeah, where do they sleep and all that?
Yeah.
But there was a guy, his name, I think it was like Mac or something. He was like 6'6". He was from Canada.
And you remember him.
And I do, because he just was kind of a larger than life guy, literally and figuratively. And, like you were saying, there's 5 or 6, like there's the captain, and there's like these people who are just in charge of your entertainment.
Yeah.
And then there's just a lot of people who have a job to clean your room or whatever. But we saw him everywhere, and he always did bingo.
Yeah.
And then my youngest boy won bingo. Like how old was he? Like, let's see, he would have been 7.
Okay.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
And he wins bingo. And then we just kind of like endeared ourselves to this guy.
Yeah.
But he did make a comment. He's like, well, this is what happens when you don't go to college or you drop out of college. Like, just warning to you kids, you're going to end up on a cruise line.
Yeah.
And you're like, maybe it's not as great as one would think. But as a family, and then even that waiter, our server, and then the bread guy his name was Focus.
Nice.
And to this day, it's been 8 years, right? We still remember Focus.
Yeah.
And we also are the type that we don't look at them as servants. They're like, hey, they're like, these are people.
Yeah.
And I think we looked up on Facebook later, and it was weird. Like, Focus, even though he doesn't really speak English, I can't remember what country he's from. He's like a big heavy metal guy.
No way.
You would see like his whatever T-shirts.
That's awesome.
That he was into. It's like, wow.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like it was just funny. And the lady was always like kind of getting after him for spending too much time talking to us.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're fine.
Yeah. It is. It just, I love that. And I think our culture is so hurried. Like everyone, it's always like, oh, got to get to this next thing. My schedule's stacked. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. And I heard this quote once that hurry is incompatible with love. And I just think like when you slow down and you take the time to like kind of be intentional with someone, even if it's not on a deep level, it can impact that person in a way that like you don't even know. And I just really trust in that because I've experienced that. And that is, I just love that. Like when you travel and you get to meet and just connect with someone like that for such a brief moment, but then it kind of like they live with you in your mind for forever. It's such a special thing. And I really wish that we could all slow down sometimes a little bit and like take time to really connect with people, because even though we're so connected in every way on like social media and always the news and seeing what everyone's doing, sometimes I'm like, when was the last time we just slowed down and like had a phone call with a friend or just caught up with someone like, hey, like how have you been? And or even had a conversation in the grocery store. And I'm Southern, so that's normal. But, some of my friends from further up north, they're like, that's weird. I don't like when people do that. I get that.
You're like,
that's
really?
yeah. And you're from Virginia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't know how the grocery stores were there for y'all.
Depends on, like, the further out we live,
Yeah.
it was probably more friendly.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely in towards DC.
Yeah. So that being said, maybe not everyone wants to be approached at the grocery store, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I always saw the value of that when I was a kid. I loved going into like the food land in rural Alabama, and like I don't know the people, but they make me feel like I know them.
Yeah.
And I think it's just cool. Like sometimes we, especially in bigger cities and fast-paced places, we lose that a little bit.
We went to the food land. That's where I got those great sub rolls for Philly cheesesteaks down in Smith Lake at their food land.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
We never used them, though.
Oh, no.
We put them in the freezer, and somehow they didn't defrost well, and they were ruined. But I went in, I'm like, because I love trying to make Philly cheesesteaks, like proper, authentic ones.
Yeah.
And it's all about finding the right bread.
Okay.
And I was not expecting, we were just down to Smith Lake for the night or 2 nights, and we were just doing our, like, buy some food to have.
Right.
And I look at these sub rolls, and I'm like, those are perfect.
Yeah, that was the place.
Like, I mean, I've been
awesome.
Scouring everywhere looking for these. And those were the closest thing I've ever found. It's like, we need to go back to that food land.
Smith Lake Food Land.
Yeah, and
awesome.
and get them. There was some brand I never even heard of.
Yeah. I feel like they always have really obscure things.
Yeah.
A really slept on place. At least I didn't know how amazing it was until recently. Star Market.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Love Star Market.
They have some of the most like random but coolest things. I don't shop there all the time because they are a little bit more expensive sometimes. But my fiance and I, when we want to have like a really nice like treat ourselves grocery store moment, we go to Star Market. I love Star Market so much. And
it takes you back. This is kind of, it depends on there's people who like small town America.
Yeah.
And there's people who like city. To me, it's almost like the perfect blend.
Yeah.
You kind of feel like it's small town America in a way of like a general store.
Right.
But at the same time, if you're living in a city, you would hope to be able to like come across something like that.
Sure.
Because they have the fresh, like huge cuts of bacon and all the barbecue sauces.
Yes.
And then there's ice cream around the corner. And
it's awesome.
it's just,
like they've got everything that you need. It's so cool.
Oh, I love that. I've been struggling. The one thing in the transfer down here is just kind of finding like a butcher.
Yeah.
That we started doing a lot more of that, like rather than just always getting it at Walmart or something. And I had heard, and I haven't done it yet. And I think Star Market, I get a lot of people saying you need to go there if you want certain cuts of meat. Yeah. Or you want them to slice it a certain way, and I think that might be our best bet.
Yeah, we've gotten some really good steaks from there.
Have you?
Lance can cook a mean steak.
Yeah.
Like I would actually rather have him cook steaks in than go to most steakhouses.
Yeah.
Which, it's awesome, right? Because you're like, I'm never going to a steakhouse again. Like, why would I do that when I can have a better one right here?
How do you like it prepared?
Medium rare.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to ruin a good steak.
It's funny because I was always a medium guy, and I still like get some flack from like certain family members who like it like burned. And now I'm like, I'm medium rare. I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna
Something
own
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Medium rare only, please.
Yeah. Sometimes though, depending on the server might like try to talk you out of it or like, judge you.
Trust me, I know what I'm about. Give me medium rare.
Can we talk about your so before I say it, I just find it interesting. We just came back from out west. Just happened to go by the Grand Tetons.
Oh my gosh!
What, 3 days ago? On our way over, we went to Jackson Hole.
Stunning.
And just, we didn't ski, but we were just there in the town.
Oh my gosh.
I've been to Grand Targhee to snowboard.
Okay.
My kids were in school in Rexburg, Idaho. I just had never we'd never gone to like Jackson Hole or Jackson, right? And walked around. And so you wrote back how you love just about anything west of the Mississippi. You just love Montana, Utah.
Oh,
she actually just returned yesterday from driving my son from Idaho.
Nice.
Back here, and they went through all of that.
Yeah.
And then I was actually on the plane. I flew back and was listening to Steve Jobs' biography, who he is adopted. His father is from Syria, and his mother is Caucasian. And I just find it interesting where I just had like this. I was just at the Tetons, kind of not at the Tetons, but we saw them. It was a perfectly clear day. My one son was complaining that we didn't get close enough to take a picture. I'm like, we don't really have time to like figure out how to get over there.
Yeah.
And then also the just the fact that I'm just listening to this book, and for whatever reason I never realized that he had been adopted.
Yeah.
And you were adopted.
I was.
And
when
you
I was 6
are
months old.
And looking at you, I can see that you're of Russian descent, right? But if you were speaking in Russian, I would immediately, like, if I didn't know you, like, okay, she's Russian.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, obviously you were raised here,
Right.
But looking at your face, like, okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm I think it's a cool little fun fact.
Yeah.
And I do love that that's my heritage. You know,
do you share that fairly openly with people?
Yeah, I do. I'm super, super thankful. My parents were open with me about that for literally as long as I can remember. There's no moment in my mind where they sat me down and told me I was adopted. I'm so thankful for that because I never had to have that identity crisis where it's like you've been living, you know, in a certain identity your whole life, and then someone springs it on you like, oh yeah, these people actually didn't make you. Like I'm very against that because I just know from my standpoint, like that would be really, really painful. And there's already some things that you kind of have to grapple with a little bit as someone who's adopted. And you know, I was adopted at a young age, 6 months, but there still were some kind of challenges that came with that, surrounding my identity. But I mean, honestly, the benefits far outweigh those. I'm so thankful to be here. Incredibly, incredibly blessed to be here with the family that I have. But it is cool. You know, I want to hold a little bit of appreciation for whoever my birth mother was, because I can't imagine how difficult that would be to give up your child in hopes that they would have a better life somewhere else. And
so you have no idea who your biological parents are?
I don't.
Right.
We have their legal names, and that's pretty much it. So I think if I remember right, I pretty much went straight from the hospital to the orphanage, and was there for 6 months, and then my parents adopted me. And so, yeah, I've always been very open about that. There were some, of course, like kids in school aren't always nice, but for the most part, you know, people are accepting of that. They're not weird about it. It's just kind of a fact of life. And it is something cool. You know, it's different. It's unique a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's always fun when I meet other people who have a similar story. So, you know, other kids that have been adopted from wherever in the world. It's cool.
Are their names very common Russian names?
Yeah.
So it would be difficult anyway to try to track them down.
Yeah.
They're very common.
So, I mean, we have it on that's the thing is we have it in like the Russian paperwork. And since I don't read or speak that, you know, I don't know where I would even start. And I'm like, is this technically even their last name, or is it like, you know, because different languages, the names are sometimes a different order. So, you know, I've never really tried to track them down just because who knows what that would lead to, honestly. But yeah, that's kind of a cool little fun fact about me. It was always an easy icebreaker in class when I had to say, you know, this is my name, this is what I'm studying, and here's a cool fact about me. That's kind of my
like,
go-to.
What?
Yeah, it was an easy one.
You know, I don't know if I would have been able to pick up on it had you not just, you know, mentioned that to me.
Yeah.
But when you mention it, there's just something about, I can tell, I speak Spanish fluently.
Cool.
And I encountered a lot of Spanish people, so I can look at someone and I know they're Peruvian.
Yeah.
I know they're from Central America. I can generally tell you someone who's Mexican, and I can tell they're South American, but maybe not necessarily the country.
Right.
And I can't necessarily explain that to you why I know that.
Sure.
But there's something in your eyes and, you know, like the structure of your face.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, like as soon as you plant that, I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
And that's just an Eastern Bloc thing, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
similarly to people that even in this country, like there's people that I can tell from the West.
Right.
And particularly from Utah. I was born in Utah, and I can see someone like, I bet they just there's a certain thing that's,
Yeah.
right, and or Jersey. Oh my gosh, I can spot a Jersey or a New Yorker without even talking.
Yeah.
You know, there's just
Like
something
I know
about
where
it.
you're from immediately. Yeah.
And then you talk like,
that's
I knew it.
cool. Yeah.
But-
I mean, I'm glad to hear that. You know, it's not something I've ever wanted to hide. It is a part of who I am. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think I'd be a little bit more disheartened if I said that and someone was like, "Oh, you don't look like it." So I'm glad I've, you know,
Yeah.
look like that at least. But yeah.
Yeah, it's probably, well, there's different impacts to those who seek out their biological
Exactly.
parents, right? Sometimes it works swimmingly well,
Yeah.
and other
sometimes-
times it's horribly wrong.
Yeah. So I just am not trying
Yeah.
to take that risk. Like I don't know what I'll find.
Yeah.
God has blessed me immensely here. So I'm like, I'm just going to stay put. And if I'm supposed to find them, I'll find them.
Do you think that part of that, it'd be one thing if they were like in Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and you can go to Wisconsin if you wanted to,
Right.
fairly easily.
Right.
I think it would be, it's in a way better for you that if they're in Russia and like,
Yeah.
was it Kirov or something like that? I'm like, where's that?
Yeah.
Any American other than like Moscow, and even though you say Moscow, we may not even be able to find it on a map.
Right. Yeah.
And so, and it's such a huge country.
It
that
is.
Maybe it's just like, that would be like finding a needle in a haystack.
Right.
Which actually might help protect you from ever even like wanting to scratch that itch.
For sure.
You know?
That's a good point. I mean, it just is a little bit unrealistic, I feel like. There was a time when my dad actually went over to Russia a few times for business.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, at one point, I think I was in 8th grade and he'd wanted to take me, but there was a little bit of a concern that if I got over there, because I was Russian born, I don't remember the reasoning, but we were afraid that if I got over there, they would either not let me in the country or not let me out, which would be way worse. And so we were like, you know, it's not worth the risk. Let's wait until I'm older. Obviously, I'm probably not going to be going over there anytime soon. But, you know, I would, if it's safe to go over there at some point, of course, like that would be amazing just to see like, oh, you know, this is where my ancestors were. This is what the people are like and the food and the music, and like kind of experience the culture firsthand would be amazing. But for now, I mean, this is home. This is where I grew up.
Does it affect you at all when, you know, obviously Russia is always in the news.
Yeah.
Does that affect you at all? Even though you're a U.S., you know, you're American, you're a U.S. citizen, you have been your whole life except for 6 months.
Yeah.
But does it still kind of like sometimes irritate you when people maybe go over the top with talking about politics in Russia and China and this evil empire and all that kind of
Right. Yeah. They definitely don't have the best reputation. I think that I'm able to kind of compartmentalize, you know, that's their government's decision.
Yeah.
That's not their people's decision. Like their people are not
Yeah.
taken care of. So I think there's a lot of empathy there. And, you know, I've spent some time in prayer just with everything going on right now. Like if my parents are alive, I hope that they're okay. And, you know, that's kind of hard. There have been a few times with the ongoing conflict. Kirov it's just north of Moscow. So it's a little bit, you know, like I think it's northwest of Moscow, a little ways. So just thinking like, I don't know what their circumstances are. I don't know if they're physically okay. I don't know if the conflict over there has impacted them. Really just hoping for their safety above all. But, you know, that's kind of all that I can do. And if I just tried to think about, you know, what could the answers be, but I'm never really going to get a solid answer, that would drive me crazy, you know? So it doesn't really offend me, though. I don't take it personally if someone has something negative to say about Russia. Like it's a part of my identity, but at the same time, you know, I grew up here. This is my home. My family is my adoptive family. You know, I never have referred to my parents talking about my birth parents. My parents are my mom and dad here. Mm-hmm. So it's different though. It's kind of like a weird, like growing up not fully knowing which one my identity was sometimes. Because if, you know, kids at school are saying like, you're not American, you weren't born here. But then like I would meet someone, I actually met someone on a cruise line like from, I think, Ukraine. and he told me that I wasn't Russian because I couldn't speak it. So I was like, well,
Okay.
now I'm kind of, and he was like an adult. I was like, dude, why would you say that? I'm 12. And so it's kind of this weird balance of like, well, which one am I? Like, I don't know. And I feel a lot more solid about that now. You know, it doesn't bother me now. But when you're younger and you're trying to reconcile those two very different worlds and this brief part of your life that you don't know much about, it's a little weird.
Do people expect you to have a Decatur, like an Alabama accent, and are they surprised that you don't really have a Southern drawl or like something that would immediately indicate, are you from the South?
Yeah, so I've heard that, you know, times when I've been out of the South, people recognize my Southern accent a lot more. I don't think
So
I
it's
have
there?
that much of one, so.
No.
Yeah, I don't know, but I guess at times it comes out. And you know, so I had a lady say once that it was just like kind of barely there, but it wasn't like distracting, but she could tell like it was there.
Do your parents have a drawl or accent?
Not really. My grandparents, yes, and it's so cute. You know, I don't dislike it at all. I think when I'm around my family or if I'm angry, it comes out a lot more. So, because then it's like I don't have that filter. But I think just being in Auburn, there's a lot of people from really bigger cities there.
Yeah.
There's some people that have like a strong country accent.
Oh, sure.
You know, with a deep Southern accent, but not everybody. And I don't know, for a little bit there, and I'm kind of sad to say this, especially if I traveled and stuff, people would poke fun at me for my accent and kind of always associated that with me being dumb. And so I didn't really like having the Southern accent. So I'd kind of like pull back a little bit, especially if I was not home. But now, I mean, I just kind of talk how I talk. If I sound Southern, I am. So it's okay. But, you know, I guess I don't really think about it too much. But when I first got to Auburn, I think my accent was a little bit stronger because one of my friends used to poke fun at me a little bit. And he was like, I can tell you're from a small town in Alabama. I was like,
okay.
All right. So I guess it's not as strong as it used to be. I don't know.
Let's ask some wedding questions.
Let's do it.
What are your colors going to be?
So we're doing, Lance had one request. He's been amazing. You know, I was like, this is your one request. I'm going to make sure you get it. He wanted a blue suit, kind of about the color of your shirt, a little bit more of like a
little lighter, like a Carolina blue?
Leaning toward denim, kind of.
Okay.
Like a softer blue, like kind of muted.
Okay.
Beige suits for the groomsmen. And the girls are going to have, it's not quite rust, but it's like a little bit blush, peachy, brown kind of fall color. I don't really know how to describe it. It's called desert rose, if you want to look that up. But, you know, not too many people know the, oh, yeah, desert rose, got it. Like,
So that's your main color for the bride, for you and the bridesmaids?
Well, I'll be in white.
Right,
but.
right. That's what I meant to say. Well, what about your like reception dress and all that? You still wear white?
Oh, I'm wearing the same dress all night. If I'm paying that much for a wedding dress, I'm getting my money's worth. I'm going to wear it the whole day.
Well,
no question.
We only got married like 26 years ago. So it's like
it's crazy. I mean, oh my gosh, like it's an industry now.
Yeah.
Like I'm really trying to keep budget in mind because it is just nuts what some people.
It's probably
will
getting
charge.
as uncomfortable as like buying a car.
Yes.
Where it's, you know, you're just like, this is going to suck. What's the
just
price
deal with it.
tag? Is there any way we can talk this down?
No.
Right. I don't want to pay that.
Exactly. You're going to pay it. Too bad. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I've been doing all the planning myself though, which I've actually had a lot of fun with.
Have you?
Yeah. Cause you know, I'm trying to make it, I want to make it just authentic to us. I actually never thought about my wedding once until I met Lance. The only thing I'd ever thought about was my dress. And when I met him, that just kind of changed everything. It was like, I know I want to be with this person, and now I'm actually thinking about what I want my wedding to be. So I've never had the dreams of the big white wedding. You know, I just want it to be the people that we love. And
Where did you meet this man, this knight in shining armor?
you're going to be blown away.
The bowling alley.
Hinge.
Hinge. Oh, I've heard of
We
this.
met on a dating app.
Oh, okay. On an
Which
app.
is so crazy. Yes.
I'm sure that's
and-
happening a lot these days.
Oh my gosh. Genuinely, I was very anti-dating apps. He was too. The only reason that I even got the app was because everyone was saying like, oh, there's so many single people in Huntsville. And I was like, where are they? Because I have yet to meet one. And, you know, it's hard to find someone that has like the same values or Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people I met, they were engaged or married. And I was like, am I behind? Like, I'm 24. What's going on? So, that was it was kind of a culture shock when I came back to Huntsville and saw how many people were already in that phase of life that were my age. So I got Hinge because I was at a wedding, and some of my friends were saying like they had met, one of them had met her long-term boyfriend on Bumble. And, they're kind of giving me the rundown of all the dating apps. And I was like, okay, Hinge sounds like the least weird. Like, let's give it a shot. We'll see what happens. Like, worst case scenario, I get a couple free dinners and that's it. So I was like, let's just see what happens. And we met. He was the first person I went on a date with from Hinge.
Wow.
He'd been on it, I think, once before, decided it wasn't for him and deleted it. And then he re-downloaded it, and we matched within like a day of him re-downloading it. So I genuinely believe, and this sounds crazy, but I know for a fact like God's hand was in it, because he is not just someone who's like a good guy that I get along with and see a future with. He is like the perfect person for me. And I'm so incredibly thankful for that. But we have the same like heart for serving others, and having a partner to do that through life with, I'm just thrilled about it. And
where's he from?
He's from Huntsville.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just awesome. We have the same values, and we've both kind of like found our little community, and we have a wonderful church family that we get to spend so much time with and invest in. And I mean, it's amazing. Like he's more than I could have ever asked for. So, I wouldn't recommend a dating app to just anybody, because there's some weird, crazy things on there. But we really it was the right time, right person, and that was it. So
that is something that Wendy and I will never experience.
You're lucky for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not missing too much.
Last question. So where's the honeymoon going to be?
North Carolina.
In Asheville?
Yeah. So we're actually, I need to see if I can find the restaurant that had those fries. And I got to figure that out. So we're going to go to Highlands.
Oh, we know where that is.
Yeah.
Because her family has a house in Cashers.
Okay. Yeah. All right there.
In Sapphire.
Yeah. So we're super excited. He is very outdoorsy. He's introduced me to a lot of crazy things like caving and rock climbing. And I always loved hiking, but now I actually have someone I can hike with all the time. And
have you been there before?
I have not. So he's been there a few times. He's done Appalachian Trail. And so we're going to stop up in Chattanooga. And then from there, it's only like 3.5 hours. And Highlands, up in a cabin and it's beautiful, like overlooking the mountains and everything, just for a few days. And then we'll go to Asheville, Biltmore, and stay there for a couple days.
Ask him if he's done Turtleback Falls.
Okay.
Ask him that.
Yeah.
And what time of year will this be?
October.
Oh, that's too cold.
Yeah.
Right? Turtleback will be too cold.
Yeah.
It's like a swimming spot?
It's a rock that you hike, a good 2.5 mile hike.
Okay.
And it's a sliding rock type thing, and the last 10 feet or so, it's a free drop into the water.
Oh my gosh,
but
that sounds so fun.
You have to be careful, because where you go back up, they have ropes and stuff there. If the current's strong, you're gonna get swept away, and you might die.
Oh,
like danger is there.
Okay,
but it's a popular destination.
That sounds right up his alley.
Troy has not done it. I've done it with.
I've never done it. I was too scared.
Oh my gosh. We went to I can't remember the name. It's like 45 minutes from here. Falls.
High Falls.
High Falls.
High Falls?
That feels right.
Where
Yeah.
you jump.
Yeah. And it's like kind of layers to it. So we were there with some friends, and I somehow got like eardrum damage.
Oh,
like I
gosh.
jumped. I've done that before. I've done like a 30-foot jump before, and I was fine. But something about the way I hit the water, I felt a pop, and things started spinning when I came out of the water.
Vertigo.
Oh my gosh, scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Still, something's not right in there. It's still weird.
Your inner ear.
So I get a little wary jumping with that stuff too. But that same day, we were in the water. We had all kind of like climbed up on the little cliffs across from the falls. And I have my arm around Lance, and I look, no joke, there's a snake crawling across his back. And he thought that it was my arm. One of the scariest moments I've ever experienced. So I'm really on guard if we're at a swimming hole now, because when you see a snake on someone's back, and like my arm was right next to it. One of the most terrifying things I've ever experienced.
So I'll tell it because I'm on the microphone, but we went to High Falls and her mother and her father were in town. And we went down to the beach area.
Yeah.
And then kind of swam up to like where they jump, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of pulling you and your mother's like on this raft. I'm kind of like side swimming.
Yeah.
And a snake comes up. And the thing was, the people are on the shore, like they're yelling at you, but you can't necessarily hear. And they're like, snake. Snake. And so then you start seeing people like hurry away, and I'm like, what? And I see the snake come up. I can still see his face. And I swam like Michael Phelps, right? And I'm doing the side swim, and I'm holding onto the raft. After the fact, there was this guy who didn't get out of the water. He was like the one guy who didn't get out. He's like, it's not poisonous. Poisonous snakes skim the water. Non-poisonous come out of the water. So he knew it wasn't poisonous.
Good to know.
Well, I mean, I wish I had known.
Doesn't matter. In that moment,
everyone's yelling at him. He's like, I'm fine.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we couldn't figure out what kind it was. We looked up pictures, and there was one that was, which, I mean, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not an expert.
I'm just laughing at like, that must have been terrifying.
It
and
was.
you still have that in your mind, right? You can still see that snake.
I will never unsee that snake on Lance's shoulders.
Did he freak out?
Oh, yeah. Because once he realized it was a snake and not my arm, and they all were dying laughing after the fact because I jump off the rock. And I want to be brave and like grab it and throw it away and save him, but that's just not happening in the moment.
Yeah.
And I can't get the words out. So I'm like, snake. And they're like, what is it? And I finally yell it. And we take off. Like, I've never swam that fast in my life.
Right.
And we don't see it. We're like, we don't know where this thing went. But we're looking at pictures, and there was some kind of like just a normal like rat snake or something. And a picture of a cottonmouth and side by side. Those two were very similar. And it was a young one. I mean, it wasn't that big, but it's a snake. So I'm like, I don't care how big it is.
Was the day over for you? Did you guys?
Yeah.
No
it was over
swimming?
for me.
Yeah.
They kept swimming. The guys
I'm
kept
done.
swimming. The day was over for me the moment I looked at it. I was like, we're out of here. So I sat on the rock like the first layer up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, checking, like my head was on a swivel the whole day, making sure nothing was around me, and I just sat there the whole time.
My boys are like very impressionable in the sense of like, so we'll show up somewhere like that. If there's no one there, they'll probably go up to a certain height, maybe a level above that. But there was this other guy who was doing like gainers off of like the highest thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, I wouldn't recommend it. There's people who die doing what I'm doing, but I'm here all the time.
My gosh.
And so then my boys start getting more like confident.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, they're free climbing anything they can free climb to get up to like where this guy is, and they end up, like nobody got hurt. But I'm also just like, can you guys not like sit there and figure out how to do the hardest climb and the scariest dive?
Yeah,
but like
they have to.
Whatever. Yeah, they have to.
To.
But this guy was like, it was crazy, like how brave this fellow was.
Yeah, I feel like there's always that one person there that just does like the most impossible looking thing, and they make it look so casual.
And it's funny how it's one thing just to jump off,
right?
It's another to do like a double
like
flip,
a 360.
To like let's just increase the level of difficulty and the amount of risk.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, yes, that's cool, but let's think about if that goes bad. Let's think about what we're risking.
Getting to your next
birthday.
birthday.
It makes me nervous when I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to cover?
I don't think so. I will end on this. My mom is going through breast cancer treatment right now. And just for everybody out there that knows, she's just been on my heart a lot, seeing how she has handled that. And also the community that has just like come out of the woodworks. People that she has not talked to in 20, 30 years have come out, and like someone literally drove from Oklahoma to see her over the weekend just to support her. Like, it's amazing. Some of the people that like the efforts they've gone to be there for her, but she is genuinely like the strongest woman ever. I just need everyone to know that, really, like, she's amazing, and I'm super proud of the way that she has handled everything. So her treatments should wrap up right before the wedding, which, we're hoping everything goes smoothly there, but
she has a good prognosis.
So yes, the survival rate for the cancer that she has with this kind of treatment is good. the outlook. Like we're positive with it, but it's always scary when you see
Sure.
someone that you love go through that. But she is just, I always knew she was strong, but seeing her go through this, I'm like, there's a whole different level of strength to that woman that they just don't make them like her. Like, so I just really admire her. And we hadn't mentioned that. And that's not really related to Velox whatsoever or to my journey as a young professional in Huntsville. But that is something I feel super strong about right now. And I'm just really proud of her. And I really feel for anybody going through that same thing or that has a family member going through that. I've never had a close family member go through that, and to see it, you know, when you're emotionally invested in it and you see like all that goes into that, it's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, just super proud of her. She's awesome. And I can only hope to be as strong as she is as I go through life because she's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. We have a friend with they have 5 girls or 4 girls? They have 4 girls. And she's got a pretty serious form of cancer that they have found, and it's just
Yeah.
her mother's had it 3 times, breast cancer
wow.
3 times or twice. Your mother, right?
Okay.
Her mother, sorry.
Yeah.
It's just cancer will, what is it, like no respecter of persons? It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
no one is immune and
Exactly.
scary.
Yeah. But I'm thankful.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of crazy things happened that you can't really be explained other than just God's provision for her. Like she had random doctors referring her to somebody else before we ever knew that this was going to be like a thing. She had a friend refer her to a really wonderful doctor in Huntsville, and they're the people that caught the initial tumor. And so it's kind of crazy. Like all of this stuff happened. We had no clue what it was in preparation for, but because of that, I mean, she really has an amazing team supporting her. Like the doctors she's been set up with just randomly out of the blue months ago are great. And so, I mean, she's in good hands, but
That's good.
it's really cool to see, like, wow, it's just such a journey and it's tough, but there's kind of those little bits of like good things throughout it that you sort of have to cling to. So anyway, that's all.
Any final shout outs or thoughts related to Velox or?
I love those people. I really do love my company. Danny, Harry, Jimmy, Tom, they're kind of our big 4.
That's them right there, right?
Yeah. So that
Oh, no.
one of them is not.
Okay.
Harry on the far left, Jimmy is not pictured here, Danny, and then Tom. I think if you go to about and then meet the team. Yeah, there. So Tom, Jimmy, Harry, Danny.
Gotcha.
All the other managers, you know, Brandon is up there. He's great. We just, honestly, I couldn't shout out everybody, but I genuinely mean it when I say, like, I love everybody that I work with. And to have that in my career so early is incredible. Especially that they kind of took a chance on me and give me a lot of autonomy in my job. I appreciate that so much more than words can say. And I will probably be there as long as they have me. So,
Good for you.
yeah, I'm really excited to see where we go in the future, for sure.
Well, Grace, it's been fun having you.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks
you
for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
And we wish you all the best. And tell Michael Jones to just keep the referrals coming.
I will. I'll let him know.
And I think we're batting more than 1,000 with guests from Decatur.
Awesome.
So
Let's go.
one of my guests was John Joseph IV, who's down in Decatur
Uh-huh.
at the E Center.
Nice.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Cool.
It's just fun. I try. It's hard to really convey the thought of like how fun it is to just keep having guests on that keep filling our minds with knowledge of the area. And I would say probably in just 2 years we've been here, we've probably learned more than most people do, because just like anywhere you live, it depends on how much time and attention you're going to put into it, whatever it is.
Right.
And you know,
Right.
if you want, not everybody's into wanting to learn all about the different nonprofits or companies out there or critical pieces of infrastructure. So
Right. Yeah. I'm happy to
Velox,
share.
it's awesome, and I'm always like, dang it, like I've known a few companies that this is big business. It's a different kind of business. It's very intense capital requirements and all kinds of stuff and training and equipment, but it's extremely important stuff that truly has an impact on people.
It does. Yeah. And we really try to come back to that. no matter what challenges we face, no matter how long and hard the day is, what we're doing and the quality of work that we're doing affects the community that we're in. It affects real people. They're relying on us. We've seen, especially when we think about like those rural areas and underserved communities, like people rely on broadband. Like they need access to internet now. It's a requirement for even healthcare stuff and education, like you mentioned. So it's cool to be in a rewarding industry, like something that ultimately, we always say, we want our networks to withstand the test of time because they're serving a lot of people. So
maybe one day you'll find out if your hinge connection went over fiber that you all laid in the ground.
Maybe. I'll have to do some digging on that. You never know. I mean, wow. If you think about that, Velox could be laying infrastructure.
You should just start telling that story.
Yeah.
You and Lance met because
we had
your
internet.
Velox completed a project that allowed Hinge to expand their reach into a certain area, and you were the first ones to connect.
That's awesome.
It's a great story.
I love that. I'm definitely going to use that. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace, for coming in.
Thanks
and
so much.
Good luck with your wedding and all the best to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.